When I was a kid, Bobby Fischer, man, Bobby Fischer. He was the big guy. You know, everybody was excited about Bobby Fischer. And Bobby Fischer wrote a book with Dr. Stuart Margulis. I think Dr. Stuart Margulis basically wrote the book. And it was Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. And I thought to myself, oh man, this is really great. Bobby Fischer teaches chess. I'll study what this guy knows and, you know, boy, I'll be world champion next day. So I got this book, you know, I'm really, really excited. And the book is very funny because you read through the book and then you got to turn it around and read it through the second time. So it wasn't like there's a page here, a page here. It's just a page here and then an upside down page and then, you know. Okay, so here it was, you know, this nice book, 200 plus examples, and all it was back rank checkmates. It was just one example after another, after the whole book. There is nothing else in the book except one tactic, the back rank checkmate. I'm reading this book and I'm saying to myself, what is this? This guy's a one-trick pony. You know, all he knows is the back rank checkmate. You know, like that's it. You know, like, wow, you know, that's how he does it. That's how he beats all of his opponents. He gets them into a back rank checkmate and he executes it. You know, like, wow, how cool is that? Man, I'd sure like to do that. So anyway, so that's going through my mind. I'm doing this curriculum thing. And then it's funny, is like there's two really great examples of games that were just played in like the last few days, which were examples of back rank checkmate. I was like, this is great. Okay, they're more complex than what I'm about to show you, and I'll stagger our way through it. So this is a very typical situation. We had just a rook ending. White is obviously a pawn ahead. And if it was White's turn, White might make a move like c3 or rook e7. But it's Black to move. And of course, Black decides that, hey, you know, he's a pawn down, so he takes the pawn. Yeah, exactly. Rook takes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And of course, we have it, you know, our back rank checkmate. Wow, in all of its glory, there it is. I must say, by the way, that when the first time this pattern was shown to me, I was just a beginner, right? You know, I found it astonishing because in reality, the way I won and lost, because that was just the way we did it, is we just wiped out all of our opponent's pieces first. You know, we took everything off the board, and then if we had anything left, then we would go after the guy's king, because that was the way you did it. That was the technique that everybody had. So just the idea that you could checkmate, you know, without wiping all, you know, like the guy off, well, that's pretty remarkable. And in this particular position, of course, it's the suffocation. The idea that you could use Black's forces against Black and produce a checkmate, well, that was just a kind of an epiphany. We go back for a second, and we can understand that in this position, Black should play the move King F8, a new variation, just to prevent any back rank mate, threaten the pawn, and prevent the rook from coming to e7, obviously. And then the whole point in the Bobby Fischer book was that in such positions, Black could play a move like g6 and create Luft, this creating Luft. I really like this, by the way. This German word Luft means air. So Black's king simply has air to breathe. He can play king g7 against any back rank checkmate. So great. So I was showing this to the children's class. I had actually prefaced this position with a less complicated position, and so the idea was to build up for the children's class and the curriculum this whole back rank checkmate idea. And so here, of course, the mechanics are very clear. White would love to play rook takes e8 check, rook takes e8, rook takes e8 check, mate, except the queen defends the rook. Okay, So instantly it comes into our minds that, gosh, all we've got to do is get the queen out of the way. We get the queen out of the way, we've got our checkmate, everything is ideal. How can we attack black's queen? Yeah!
Queen D something.
Queen D something. Okay, well, well, the problem with Queen D something is if we played Queen D1, for example, our second rook wouldn't be able to checkmate, so after queen takes, rook takes, we wouldn't be able to make that move. So of course we have, young ladies? Yes, of course, Queen. That was the other thought. Queen D5, very good. And so now we can win spectacularly, brilliantly, after queen takes D5, rook takes, checkmate. Wonderful, please sign my score sheet. Thank you so much. Okay, black, unfortunately, he sees the same thing. He also reasons that rook takes, rook check, rook takes, rook check, queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes, he'll be down. So he moves his queen. He plays queen A4. Unfortunately for us, this maintains black's defense of the E8 square. Oh, that's bad. So we got to go again. What do we do? What on earth should white do? All he's got to do is get rid of the queen. If he can get rid of the queen, he's got that brilliant checkmate staring him dead in the face. So how could white attack black's queen? How? How? Young lady, what do you think? You're probably right, but you're probably scared away from suggesting the right. Yes, yeah. How could we possibly attack black's queen? Well, unfortunately, a move like rook e4, as nice as it is, he will just trade his rook, rook takes e4, rook takes e4, and then he'll move his queen back to c6, and our opportunity of a back rank checkmate is lost. Ken, you see it? You're the maestro. Come on, baby. Just slip it out there.
Queen to d4.
Queen to d4. Well, that does in fact.
Bishop's there, though.
Yeah, that's why I stuck the bishop there. That's why I stuck the bishop there. Was just to discourage queen d4. Where else could white move his queen that would attack black's queen? Yes, yes, excellent, excellent, excellent. Queen to c4. Well, that's kind of a visually nice move. We always like these moves that put our queen on pre, but of course you can't take it. I mean, it's just sort of like a challenge, you know. And again, we win brilliantly. Queen takes c4, rook takes e8, rook takes e8, or rook takes c4, and again, rook takes e8, queen takes e8, rook takes e8, and we have our checkmating pattern. Yay. Queen d7, precisely, queen d7. So black, irritatingly enough, annoying opponent, you know, goes back with his queen, doesn't allow as a brilliant mate, but what do we do now? Yes, yes, queen takes c8. That would be wonderful, especially if black was to cooperate. Queen takes c8, queen takes c8, rook takes e8, rook takes e8, rook takes, checkmate. But queen takes c8 runs into this very nasty rook takes e8, and there's no more checkmate on the back rank. Darn, darn, hate that, hate that. So, where else could white's queen attack black's queen? If we go queen to d5, queen to a4, it's a repetition. We haven't made any progress. Queen, thank you, Maestro. Queen to oh, Queen to G4. Oh, that's nasty. Now Queen takes G4, Rook takes E8, Rook takes E8, Rook takes E8 is our checkmate. And at the same time, we're having the threat of Queen takes G7 checkmate. Oh, so now, so in a sense, we're going to go back just a moment. In a sense, from this starting position with the queen on b3, White made the illegal move. White played queen on b3 to g4. It's his turn, and he made that move. How did he do it? He went queen to d5, queen to c4, queen to a4, queen c4, queen to g4. Hey, I mean, that's not right. That's not in the rule book. And this is a position of the back rank checkmate. Nigel Short just played in and won the Canadian Open. Wonderful. And in one of his games, and I went through the database, unfortunately, it's like 100 games in that database. I couldn't fish out that one game that Nigel played. He had a back rank checkmate that was very visual. I liked it, and I was thinking to myself, okay, that goes into the curriculum under the tactics. And so in our efforts to give you the entire picture, a holistic understanding of chess, we'll go through a game that is currently that was played in the tournament that is currently underway, easy for me to say, in Dortmund, Germany. This is a top Grandmaster tournament, and two of the players are Georg Meyer, he's going to Webster College. He's a 2700 German national, and he is playing. I'm going to put Vladimir Kramnik, who has the black pieces in this particular game, on the bottom, because Vladimir won the game by using this Bobby Fischer's technique, man. What else can I call it but the back rank mate? It wins every time, every time. Sal, welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? So this is a really boring game, by the way. This turned out to be what is called a Catalan variation, which it features white fianchettoing. Of course, in this moment, we have a queen's gambit declined, and everybody and his brother plays moves like bishop g5 and knight c3 for white. But okay, we have a Catalan. g3. Okay. Bishop e7, bishop g2, castles, castles. So this is still one of the most typical setups of the Catalan. Now here black has a choice. Normally speaking, he captures this pawn, and that's the open variation of the Catalan. When black makes the decision to capture this pawn, notice that that does open up the diagonal for the bishop. So another choice that black often plays is the move c7, c6. This is known as, you ready for this? The closed Catalan. I mean, you know, chess players are as scientific and precise. So in the closed Catalan, the idea from black's point of view is to keep this pawn on d5 rock solid so that this bishop never has a good point of view. But that wasn't Vladimir's choice. Vladimir captured the pawn. So white decides that, quite properly, he'd like to recapture his pawn, and he plays the move queen c2. Again, this variation has been played to death. There has been hundreds, if not thousands, of games that continue as follows. a7, a6, a cute little move. If we go back to a moment in this position, we could say that black's bishop on c8 is kind of passive. It's not doing anything. And it really needs to get into the battle soon, especially in view of the fact that queen takes c4 is on white's agenda. So black plays this cute little move a7, a6. And his idea is he wants to support his pawn on c4 with a move b5. But of course, it's white to move, and white captures the pawn. Queen takes c4, b5 anyway, attacking the queen. The queen retreats, queen c2, and bishop b7. So this is black's big idea. And a very fine idea it is. The bishop on b7 counters the bishop on g2. And if black is able to play a move like knight d7, followed by c5, the position will be even, equal, we say. So white's idea is primarily, in this variation of the open Catalan, white's idea is to stop black from advancing his pawn to c5. The most popular move today is this move bishop d2, and this really looks like a modest move. And in many ways it is a very modest move, but it has several ideas behind it. The first idea is that if black plays c5 prematurely, white will capture the pawn on c5 and then play the move b4 to protect the pawn on c5. That's the first idea of white. The second idea of white is he wants to bring his rook to c1 to pressure this pawn on c7. And finally, the last idea of white is if black makes the natural move knight to d7 in order to play c5 on his very next turn, white has a very subtle and peculiar idea. He plays bishop a5. Not only does this bishop now attack the pawn on c7, but it also pins the pawn. The pawn on c7 can't move because the queen on d8 would be captured. So that's a very subtle idea for white, bishop d2. And now we get this incredible move, rook a7. What on earth is that? Okay, I know it's a little bit complex, but the idea is black is expecting white to play the move rook c7, rook c1, I beg your pardon, attacking the pawn on c7. So with this move rook to a7, which really looks like a stupid move, but we got to give Vladimir Kramnik some credit, it actually, the idea of the move rook a7 is to protect the pawn on c7 and to be able to move the bishop here. So Vladimir, wants to meet the move rook c1 as follows. Rook c1, bishop e4, and presto, our pawn is protected. Secondly, this move rook a7 is a kind of a waiting move. It's asking white what he wants to play. If white jumps with bishop a5, black has the very powerful move knight c6, simply attacking the bishop and saying, get out of town, just go away. So this move, rook a7, is a kind of a waiting move. Rook c1, bishop e4, queen d1. Now, again, this position has been reached numerous times, and everybody and his brother plays the move queen b3. Okay, and as we'll see, I don't like this move queen d1 at all. Now, Georg Meyer is a very, very strong grandmaster, so this was preparation. But here's a question for you. Can black capture this pawn on d4? Can he play bishop takes f3, bishop f3, queen takes d4? First of all, the correct answer is yes, because it's legal. Okay. You guys are just wondering, does that hang something? And you're trying to figure out whether or not it's a blunder or not. But this is why, in fact, Kramnik was asked the very same question, and he answered it, yeah, I'll take the pawn. Now let's go back just for a second because I told you a moment ago that everybody, and I mean everybody, in this position that has reached this position has played the move Queen B3. Now the difference is that after bishop takes, queen takes, in fact, now this would be a very bad move because we have the skewer. Bishop E3 attacks the queen, and oopsie daisy, that rook is about to be captured. Once the queen moved, the rook is lost, so black could not capture the pawn. However, in the game variation, bishop takes, queen takes, black said, wait a minute, please go ahead, please make my day. Play the move bishop E3, I'll trade queens, and then I'll block the threat to my rook by playing the move C5. So Kramnik said, I'll take the pawn and you show me your compensation. A4. And Kramnik said, okay, I'll play C7, C6. Your turn. Queen B3 now. So it makes a very strange impression, this novel idea of Queen D1. And suddenly and now we understand why Kramnik played the move C6. He wanted to bring his rook, which looks pretty goofy, on the A7 square, and he's centralized, and he's basically saying to white, hey, listen, you're welcome to take this pawn, and my knight will capture your bishop, but I'll be fine. I'll have a good position if you do that. Bishop F4, knight D5. So these moves were all played, and knight B4 was played. So at the moment, it's not really a back rank checkmate. Queen D1, rook D. We already have made Luft. So we have king G2. But then our pieces will be pinned, and that will be very unpleasant for the first player. So the rook was forced to drop back. Bishop C5, threatening the pawn on F2. White was not, this would be an easy way, E3 would be an easy way to resolve the threat of queen takes F2. But after the move E3 is played, a few things are a little bit uncomfortable for black. Let me just show. In the game, Georg played the best move, rook F1. Had white played the move E3, this would be unpleasant for white after the move queen F6. Because now, thanks to the fact that this pawn is on E3, this knight has a very nice square knight D3. If we take the bishop, rook takes C5, queen takes F3, well, now we are in fact threatening that rook D1 check, and that back rank, the back rank for white becomes an issue. In addition, black is threatening this nasty knight D3. So we got here, and Georg played this good move, rook F1, takes on A5, takes rook C7, knight C3, queen E5, rook D1, H5. Now, at this point, these are really two top grandmasters, who are playing. This position is really even-steven. Most especially because of the presence of opposite color bishops. Never mind the fact that the pawn structures are completely equal. And again, this position should be a draw. And it's beyond my imagination that any top grandmaster would actually lose this game with white. So was this like a battle of wills, mind over matter, or was this just a horrible play? Now, far be it from me from ever saying, horrible play. I've played some horrible games. But the simplest way for white to play in this position would be the move king g2. Why? Because as we'll see in the game, black played the move h5, which intimates that black is trying to harass white's king with this move h4, and white could meet h5 with h4. And again, the position's even Steven. Let's go and see what actually happened in the game, and we'll see a very important difference. Jörg played rook d1, and this move is in fact wrong. And after h5, white would like to play the move h4, but could not. Why not? Why not? Why not play h4? Queen takes g3. Don't hate that. Thanks to the pin of the bishop against the f2 pawn, you're trying to take that queen, you want to take that queen, but it's illegal. If white's king had been on g2, this would have been no problem. So h5, king g2 was now played, and now h4. Now black has some abilities to needle white a little bit. In the first place, he could play a move like h3 check, and in case of king takes h3, bishop takes f2, and white's structure has been compromised. So, but nothing terrible is going on here, mind you. The position's still even, but just the fact that white has misplayed it a little bit with rook d1 probably gave Kramnik reason to maybe want to play on. Knight c5, knight e4. This also struck me as a very, very strange move. I really, quite frankly, I didn't understand that move at all. I thought that white would play a move like rook d7 here and bring the other rook to d1. So this move was a strange move for me. Bishop came back to f8, and this was also a strange move to me, rook c1. I didn't understand this move either. If I were white, from my point of view as white player, well, I love my pawns, man. I mean, God gave me 8 of them. I better love my pawns. The most pieces on the board are pawns. So if you fall in love with your pawns, this is a good thing. The pawn on b2 is attacked. Defend the pawn on b2. I would have thought that rook d2 and rook a1 d1, every grandmaster in the world would play like that. And this blunder? Trade, trade, trade. Thank you very much for the pawn. Now, I don't know if at this moment Jörg thought that he had full compensation thanks to his active rook or not, but this was a very strange way for white to play. Queen e5 attacks the rook. Queen comes to d7. Now, does anybody see this having anything to do with what this whole lecture is about, which is the back rank checkmate? Of course not. There's nothing here even remotely close to the back rank checkmate. Queen f5. Okay, this is a good thing. He defends the pawn on f7. G4 attacking the queen. Queen f4 keeping Queen f4 g5, yes. Queen f4 g5. And now black played the obvious knight d5. So gift me the rook. Gift me the rook. White played, knight f6 check. So the idea is if we take the knight, talk, new variation. Ah! Hate that. Checkmate. Oh! Vladimir Kramnik would lose. So after knight f6 check, what on earth did Vladimir play? What do you think, young lady? What do you think? If you were black, what would you do? You could see checkmate is staring you in the face. How could you defend checkmate? It's not easy. Ken, you're the man. You're the one with the answers. We got an audience that wants to know. Bravo, bravo. Queen takes f6. You're off the hook. Queen takes f6. Yes, but what happens after queen takes f6? Do you guys see the back rank checkmate now? Ooh. If white takes the queen, what do you see? What do you see? Yes, tell me.
The knight f4.
Okay, that's a check. I'll just go back with my king.
And then rook
Checkmate. A back rank checkmate. Maybe that guy Bobby Fischer was onto something, right? I mean, hey, that was a pretty back rank checkmate, and that's how it related to the curriculum for the moment and serendipity of it all. After knight f6, yes, one gentleman said, could black also have played knight takes? Yes, he could. In this case, after knight takes, pawn takes, white has really good chances to hold the draw, to defend. Before, black was just a pawn up and winning. But now white has real good chances of defense. So that was why knight takes f6 wasn't so good. But now after queen takes f6, oh my goodness, you're facing a checkmate, a back rank checkmate. You're also facing queen takes g5 pawn with a check. So Georg played queen takes d5. Kind of a funny, like putting your queen, but that's the best move. Unfortunately for white, after playing even the best move, he's still a pawn behind, and unfortunately for him, his king is also compromised. After queen takes d5, Vladimir played queen g6, which white played queen e5, and now black has a really nice move, a very nice move. If you had black's position, what move would you make? Bishop d6. Now that move really would work nicely. After bishop d6, queen takes d6, queen takes g5 check. If the king were to retreat, we've got our great back rank checkmate. Unfortunately, the white player would not cooperate. We would play bishop d6, queen takes d6, queen takes g5, and instead of retreating and walking into a mate, he'd play king h3, and like, oh, why did I just drop my bishop? Okay, so we don't drop our bishop. Instead, we play a real nice move. My hint is that black is a pawn up. So now that we know that, how could we take advantage of the fact that we have an extra pawn? Well, I like to keep them before we sacrifice. But can we leverage that pawn to our advantage? What could we do? Yes, sir.
Rook b5.
Of course, of course. Hey, we're a pawn up. We might as well utilize it. And thanks to this move, rook b5, bam! You got to move the queen, and guess what? Another pawn is right there ready for plucking. Queen went back to f4. Vladimir played a nasty little move here. He played rook f5 and said, hey, you know, like, where are you going to move your queen? Jörg played queen e4. Queen takes g5 check, king h3. And now, Black is 2 pawns up. He's completely winning. And I must say, I do like Vladimir's technique. I've always admired. He has a mixture of styles. In some ways, he's Karpovian. In some ways, he's Petrosian. And he thinks to himself, well, I'm 2 pawns up, so I'm going to win the game. But what could my opponent possibly threaten? In a worst-case scenario, the opponent could play rook here and maybe queen here and end up taking my bishop. So Vladimir chased the rook and played g6. So chased the queen and played g6. So what's his idea is that whenever push comes to shove, he'll always be able to drop his queen back and keep his bishop protected. And it was here in this position that white resigned. So this was a very nice game. And let me just ask, how would white win after queen takes a6? I want you to think in terms of back rank checkmates for a moment as well. How could white win? By force. What would white's sequence of moves be? I'll help you out. We'll start with a check. Queen f5 is a good start. King g2 has to go back. And now h3 check. Exactly. Now here, unfortunately, white faces a Hobson's choice. If he goes back, how do we checkmate on the back rank? If white, how does he do it? Queen to b1. King g1, the queen slides. You notice that the queen covers this square and the rook covers this square? It's like the queen goes to b1 and it slides right in between them, you know? It's like the guy with the ball going up the field and there's no tacklers. King to b1, queen goes here, and it's a back rank checkmate. And what about, how would, I think my computer's so fast. I mean, it shows this arrow. How would black checkmate if white's king came up? King to g3. How could he checkmate? Yes, young lady. Do you know the answer?
Queen g5.
Very good, very good. Yes. Oops. Queen to h4. Unfortunately, that just drives the king away. But we do have this one, and that's a checkmate. So even though the game really didn't have so much content, that little swing of that little swing of moves here really caught my eye. I thought that was very, very attractive. So, and just to Bobby Fischer's point, I've probably checkmated a lot of opponents on the back rank.